Greetings, this is Susan Allen in Boston, and this is 6th week of the Paula Deen Real Women of Philadelphia competition. And I'm here to share with you my Philly Pinwheel appetizer. It's the one item that is always a big hit with our family. I've been serving it for years. They arrive hungry for dinner, and I pop these in the oven and have them out so that they are satisfied and willing to wait until dinner is prepared. These Philly Pinwheel canopies have Philadelphia cream cheese, which helps hold everything together. This keeps me from needing to use toothpicks. We have young grandchildren, and as a rule with the family, we don't cook with toothpicks. So this has asparagus, Philadelphia cream cheese, a little orange zest, and basil, and then we've modified these over the years to help fit with our family who are vegetarians. But first, the real key ingredient, I'm next going to be making the cream cheese spread. We're ready to make our cream cheese spread filler using Philadelphia cream cheese. This will be the key ingredient to our canopy. First, we're going to use orange juice and orange zest. I zest a whole orange with my microplane. Gives me about a teaspoon packed of orange zest. I use the orange zest, I prefer it because it doesn't make the cream cheese spread too liquidy. It keeps it at the right consistency. And then I use a tablespoon of orange juice, and then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of finely chopped basil. You'll probably end up, when you go to purchase your fresh basil at your market, and it smells so wonderful at this time of year, you'll get a lot of extra. And what I like to do with that is, before it wilts too much or spoils, I make it into pesto, which is a great thing. Then we have our great Paula Deen rubber spatula, which will help us blend the cream cheese and orange juice and zest together. And we want to give this time to absorb all the flavors of the orange juice and zest and the basil. So we do this first before we assemble or do anything else with our pinwheels. So we've made this, we're going to set it aside, and next I'll be showing you how to assemble the Philly Pinwheel canopies. Now our cream cheese spread is done. It really, you can smell the basil and even get a whiff of the orange zest and juice. We're going to set this aside and let the flavors come together. And now we're ready to prepare the rest of our canopy. I already have steamed my asparagus. Out in Western Mass, asparagus is local and can be found in plenty. My mother-in-law, who was from Western Mass, taught me that when you cook asparagus, you're going to snap it where it breaks. That shows you the fibrous end. This is the tender part. If they're thin like this asparagus, which is locally grown, you steam it for 4 minutes. If it's later in the season and they're the thicker stock, it'll take 6 minutes. After you've cooked them, you want to throw them in an ice water bath. But we've already done that, and you want to have 24 pieces of asparagus. Then you're going to take, I'm going to do a vegetarian Philly Pinwheel canopy and a prosciutto or meat lovers version. So we have 6 pieces of brown bread, 6 pieces of white bread. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut off the crust of the brown bread. You can do several pieces at a time. I'm doing just one for the moment. And I'm going to throw that aside. Cut off the pieces of the white bread. What you're doing, you're going to use the bread sort of as a dough. And the reason you roll it is so that the fibers of the bread stay together. Now when you go to roll bread out on a cookie sheet, you want to use a dishcloth under it to keep it from moving. And we're going to roll this up and down one direction, shift the bread in the other, just a quarter of a turn, and roll it some more. And you'll notice how thin, but also how pliable that makes it. Next I'm going to do this with the white bread. And I circle the bread another half turn. And this is so that it gets rolled out flat and even. Now for the brown bread, we're going to make a vegetarian canopy. We're going to use our cream cheese and spread it on the brown bread. And you can see the really large bits of basil and the orange. That'll totally come across the flavor. Now, I use red pepper, and I like the canned red pepper, roasted red peppers. You need to take out the veins and the seeds, which I've already done, and I cut it into 6 equal pieces, since we have 6 pieces of brown bread. And I lay that on my brown bread that's covered with the cream cheese. And then I'm going to cut 2 pieces of asparagus to fit the bread, so that they'll lay flat in a pinwheel shape. And then we're going to take the brown bread and roll it up, and take the cream cheese and seal it, so that's your sealed piece of canopy. We're going to cut that in half, and then cut it in half again. And that gives you like 4 bite-sized pieces. And you'll find as you cut these, you may need to wipe your serrated knife. Now we'll assemble the prosciutto option. We're going to put cream cheese. You want to really liberally spread the cream cheese spread all over it. It's really what is the secret ingredient. You don't have to use toothpicks. It'll hold the bread and all the inside ingredients together. I'm going to take a piece of prosciutto now and place that on the bread, and basically you can fold it in half. That doubles it and really gives you lots of extra flavor. And then we're going to take 2 pieces of prosciutto, 2 pieces of asparagus. We're going to cut those to fit on the bread. Set the cuttings aside. Those are for the chef to eat as they're making the canopy, or can throw it in later in a salad or something else. And we're going to cut that in half and 4ths. So now we have 4 pieces of vegetarian canopy and 4 pieces of the prosciutto. We're going to place these same side down so they don't open up on us, on a half-baked sheet. And when we come back, I'll finish all 12 pieces of bread, and then I'll show you how to put it in the oven. I've now completed assembling my Philly pinwheels. You can see these here. I use Philadelphia cream cheese. It's the only cream cheese I use because it has consistency that you don't find with any other brand. Here on the right we have our brown bread with asparagus and roasted red pepper. On the other side we have our prosciutto asparagus with the white bread. And now to finish these off, while I've been assembling them, I've let a stick of butter, or 8 tablespoons of butter, to melt. And I'm going to brush the butter on these to help them brown. And then you'll pop them in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes at 475. It's a preheated oven. The nice thing about these too, as well, you can make maybe double the recipe, use the whole loaf of bread, and then put them in the freezer, and they're still good to use later. And when we come back, I'll have the finished pinwheels, and our guests should have arrived, and we'll be serving them. My Philly pinwheels, made with Philadelphia cream cheese, are out of the oven. I've let them sit for 2 minutes to come together. It makes them hold together well, and you don't want anyone to burn their mouth when they eat them. Then when I plate them, I like to take and put the bread on the outside with the filling in the center. These are so good, and they really taste wonderful. They disappear quickly when you have them, and they smell wonderful. These are my pinwheel garden here to celebrate the pinwheels. This is Susan Allen, wishing you a blissful journey of good food and great company. And now my chance to try them. They're delicious.